Bert, you suck. I know.
And his goalie has done what he's had to do. Keep them in the game.
This kid earned a second chance with me because we might not have won a championship, but he brought us to the playoffs 10 years in a row. Joey, fly high. Joey Bird will fly high again.
Hi, I'm Sherman Augustus, and you're watching The Being Frank Show.
Hey, I'm Maureen McCormick, and you're watching The Being Frank Show.
Hi, I'm Tom Wright, and you're watching The Being Frank Show. Je suis américain, je comprends beaucoup de français.
Can you give it up for a very funny guy, Nick Flanagan? So, is your comedy political or observation, or you're like Seinfeld that your voice goes up and down when you talk?
All of it. All of that. You know, it's called free associative stand-up. You know, you're thinking about Donald Trump or Donald Rumsfeld or Donald Duck.
They're all pretty similar guys.
All very, at least the name is where the similarity starts.
McDonald, Ronald McDonald.
Yeah, that's a nice flip, because that's you know, the Donald is at the end there.
So when did you know you were funny?
So if Donald Duck, one second, married Ronald McDonald, which you can do now, Donald McDonald, just saying.
But it would be great because he loves hamburgers.
Yeah.
So,
I knew that,
and he would
too.
get them half price.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
free, because if the ones that are left over, because they make them, right?
Right.
You get them for free.
I mean, especially if you're a duck.
How long are we going to play the duck thing?
I think that it should be the whole segment. You know, there should be a duck, and then we should talk about the Irishman, and then we should talk about Jeffrey Epstein.
Did you watch The Irishman? Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So did you watch The Irishman?
Oh, yeah, I did in the theater.
Did you like it?
Yes. Did you?
I was, I wouldn't say I didn't like it. I would say that I was disappointed.
Well, so was, you know, the rest, you know, anybody under 75, I think, who watched that movie.
I was disappointed because I thought I was going to see something else.
Right, you thought it was going to be like a Leprechaun in the Hood kind of movie. Warwick Davis.
Typically, he's made his masterpieces already, too, really, Scorsese.
I think the thing that was a little disillusioning to me, not to criticize Martin Scorsese, who's my favorite director and filmmaker in the world, was to see Robert De Niro as a 30-year-old.
Oh, yeah, the aging.
Yeah,
the de-aging.
The aging was terrible.
I just thought maybe because I saw it in the theater, it was a different experience. I didn't think about the aging at all, except for how old all of these men were, and that I was watching a combined total of like 400 years.
I think the guy from Everybody Loves Raymond was the best guy for me. Like,
yeah.
He was the most poignant guy for me. Anyways,
he should be in one of your movies.
I can't afford him. He's a gazillion. So? Yeah, I can't afford him. No,
well, what if you just go, hey, Ray, here's an impression of you. Hey, I'll do your movie for free. And then he'll...
Is that Ray?
Yeah.
So you don't do impressions, do you?
I'm making a good impression on you, Frank.
So you don't do impressions. So when did you know you were funny?
I don't know. I haven't even... right now, I don't know. Like, I'm legitimately more... I'm more confused about it every time I step on stage.
No, but sir... Well, you know, a lot of people don't know this. The toughest 3 minutes is a set. And 3 minutes, 3, 4, 5 minute set in stand-up is an eternity.
The shorter the set, the harder it is, really. Well, you know, they say be in the moment, and then you're in the moment, you're like, this sucks, I'm so scared.
So what are you an observationist, a comedian, or a comedian like the Goldbergs that talk about their past, which is my favorite sitcom?
Well, you know, I don't really talk about my past. I do a lot of, it's really silly. You know, I like to get silly with it. And then, if I do a podcast, too. And on the podcast...
What's the name of the podcast?
Nick Flanagan, Weekly, W-E-A-K-L-Y.
So you need to be an intellect, remember.
Yes. That's the thing. Is
if you have bad memory, you're You never listen to that
Look up
podcast.
my name, you know. You're either going to find a golfer, footage of a great golfer, or Nick Flanagan Weekly, which is just a podcast I do in my bedroom, basically with my cat.
So you like cats rather than dogs? Are you a cat person?
I
Because
like
of
them
low
both.
maintenance?
I like them both. I like that you know that I need low maintenance,
Well, you're wearing a
things in my-
sweatshirt, so I figure low
This is
maintenance.
Comedy Bar. This is a small business I'm supporting here. Now, underneath, button-up shirt and khakis.
So the Comedy Bar, is it a rival to the
Yuck, yuck.
Yuck Yucks franchise?
No, not so much a rival. It's something that had a lot of sketch comedy to start. So an improv.
Like Second City?
Sort of, and Bad Dog Theater was located in it, which was improv. So I don't think Yuck Yuck saw it as direct competition. And so they've been able to have stand-up shows, have things there, and be like a complement to the existence of Yuck Yucks, thus creating a larger diaspora.
But it's a
of
competing,
comedy.
it's a competitor of Yuck.
Yes, ultimately, yes. But don't tell Mark Breslin, or he's gonna not let people play Comedy Bar, and we can't have that.
Can you play Comedy Bar if you play Yuck Yucks right now?
Yes, yes.
That's great.
Mark, keep it like it, please. Mark Breslin, right?
I've had him on the show, and
figured.
we were at one time had all comedians from Yuck Yucks coming through here.
I remember I would see a lot of familiar
Yeah, yeah,
faces,
yeah,
people I
yeah.
knew.
But Mark's been very successful with the Yuck Yuck franchise.
Mark's a bright person, you know. Very.
He was a funny comedian. He did stand up for a while.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, I want to ask you. I watched the movie last night.
Yes.
It was called The Three Christs with Richard Gere. It's a great movie. If it didn't do well, but it's a great movie. I loved it. And it's about a psychiatrist who works in a mental asylum, and there's three guys who believe they're Jesus Christ. But it's a very cool movie. And he gave up the night, him and his wife, it was a timepiece. And he was supposed to go see Lenny Bruce. So I've watched some of the Lenny Bruce on YouTube and stuff.
Right.
I'm a YouTubeaholic, right? It's a big rabbit hole. Once you get into YouTube, you just spin down there and watch
Totally.
everything. Did you think that Lenny Bruce was one of the founding fathers of comedy clubs?
I mean, I think that he changed what you could do, because for so long it was, Borscht Belt, like people who had trained in Catskills kind of stuff. That's
Like Take My
shtick.
Wife, Please?
Yeah, heavy shtick. You could trade jokes around and stuff. But Lenny Bruce was like, well, I'm just going to borrow the Yiddishisms, and then on top of that, I'm going to combine the beatnik thing into this and make it very
But he was a very
modern.
dark comedian, and he was a
Yeah.
very sad guy.
Yeah, heroin addiction will add to a darkness
Yeah,
when really... it
yeah,
should
that's
just
how he
relax
died.
you.
He OD'd on heroin.
Yeah, and then, so I think also there was a lot of, like, context to all of his jokes. He's always like...
But everybody loved him.
At the time, 'cause it
he
was
was the
present.
Richard Pryor of that time.
It was very topical. Well, and Richard Pryor, I think, said he was trying to be kind of a combination of George Carlin and Lenny Bruce once he made that change from a Bill Cosby-esque comedian. He walked right off stage. That's what they said in Vegas.
Is it tough to be a comedian today where everything's politically correct?
What's that?
Did I say something?
I don't think I'd classify that as a word.
I'm just curious.
I think that in the end, it's like the people who are super policing comedy are not very interested in comedy as something to.
I'm
imitate.
Italian. I don't care about an Italian joke. I hear Maniscalco do a lot of Italian jokes. I don't get
But
offended.
he's Italian, right?
Yeah, but who gives a like, I mean, even if it was Chappelle making an Italian joke.
But he's Italian, right?
Yeah, he's Italian. He's from Sicily,
Right.
where I'm from.
Yes.
But when I'm
There's a
sa-
Wu-Tang, there's an Old Dirty Bastard lyric that
yeah,
actually...
but what I'm just telling you is I think that everybody gets offended because they want to be offended. If you want to get offended, off.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is the people who want
Anybody
to be
offended?
are, they're not people who are going to take in much comedy. So I think what you have to do is just try to do it with a happiness and, out of love. The Don Rickles, no one's...
He was the biggest offender in the world.
Yeah, no one's scrubbing Don Rickles from history. Even Andrew Dice Clay
But
at the time was so controversial.
Yeah,
Now
but
you
he
see
was
it,
he
it's
was a
ridiculous.
little bit too misogynist. But
Oh,
but
for
I'm saying,
sure.
listen, I watched the Dean Martin roast on YouTube. You can't have that today.
The drinking on camera?
No, I don't go for it. Yeah. I'm just saying, listen, I think there's got to be something in between. There's got to be some sort of moderation. And I think respect is first and foremost, right? But if you can't take a joke, stay home. Wear a turtleneck sweater and sit with your cat.
I think just everybody thinks they can do anything. No offense to any of us, because we all seem to do a lot of different things. But people are just like, I feel like I've been a horrible influence on this, because I've had so many people go, I saw you do comedy, and I realized, oh, I can do this if this is comedy. And then, so the floodgates open. Twitter, you know, people make a joke on Twitter, next thing you know, they're off to the races getting well known, you know? And so now you have all these people, then you have all these agendas, right? Everybody wants to get famous. How do you get famous? What do you do in prison, right? You know, you punch the biggest guy in the cell.
If that's what they do.
When I say you know, I mean you've seen movies.
That's what they say. So let me ask you something. Are you a Trump fan?
Well, I love Apprentice season 3. That's when it really peaked.
So is that where you're Trump fan? Because I find that Richard Nixon was a president that became a criminal.
Right.
And Trump is a criminal that became a president.
Right. And then a criminal all over.
All over. So are you a fan of his? Do you use him in some of your humor? Or are you afraid of Trump?
I gotta skip that. I just hate how could I feel like it's hard to be a Canadian and be like stoked on very much that Trump is saying, because we have this whole history of like politeness as a people.
So do you make fun of Justin Trudeau?
I think I did once, but I don't really stay. I just find
any Trudeau fans that tried to beat you up after?
I mean, who would that
with
even
nice hair
be?
pieces?
Yeah, like,
and lots of moose.
Like a 19-year-old college girl is gonna throw some paint on me after that, you know? I feel like most of his fans are college students who just really want
drama students.
Drama students, yeah, just being like maybe he'll subsidize my little theater.
So what's your podcast?
It's me having a nervous breakdown, sometimes alone, sometimes with somebody in the room. I've had Sandra Shamus has been on it, and Scott Thompson from Kids in the Hall, and writers for John Oliver, harm reduction advocates.
So how do we listen to your podcast?
You go to SoundCloud.com/Nick Flanagan Weekly. You can go to theflans.com. That's my website. @theflans is my Twitter. I brought my album to show you.
Sure, absolutely. We got cameras
cassette.
Here.
Cassette. It's a cassette.
Can you play it off a
edition.
pager? Or,
Yeah. It plays on a Trio. It only works on a Palm Trio with the stylus. So I hope you kept your stylus. It's called Wiped Privilege. And I've got toilet paper on my head.
Very modern. Very cool.
Oh,
So we come back, we're going to be with a great violinist, Vera. Don't go away. This is the Being Frank Show with Nick Flanagan. Listen to him on his podcast on SoundCloud, which is now going to become the Podcast Kings.
I agree.
Don't go away!
The Being Frank Show is brought to you by Pure Genius Irresistible Iced Teas, the genius way to quench your thirst.
From the far reaches of the Orient comes an age-old recipe passed down from generation to generation. Introducing Cheetah Power Surge caffeine-free energy drink.
Here's the deal. Cheetah Power Surge is an all-natural blend of Chinese ginseng and royal jelly that gives you an all-natural burst of energy without the caffeine crash. Feel refreshed and revived with Cheetah Power Surge energy drink. Hey, life moves pretty fast. Cheetah helps you keep up. Cheetah Power Surge caffeine-free energy drink. Grab it, they're going fast.
Now available in orange, watermelon, and fruit punch.
Hi, I'm Robert Davi, and I'm here in Hamilton, but I'm watching the Being Frank Show. So stay tuned.
I'm Armand Asante, and you're watching Being Frank.
You're watching the Being Frank Show. Now can I lick my balls?
So I'm with one of my favorite violinists in the world, and she adds a lot of... First of all, it's a very difficult instrument to play. Vera Brumenko. Beautiful. I see you on Instagram. You wake up in the morning, you're playing, you're having lunch, and so you love to play. How old were you when you started playing?
7.
7. 7 years old. And why the violin?
Just felt this was an instrument that both challenged and interested me long enough to keep it going for a career.
When did you go from an acoustic violin to the crazy violin?
Just a couple years ago, actually, when we started recording my album, but I've always wanted to make the switch because I'm into people like Mark Wood and, Lindsey Sterling, people who explore the electric world. Yeah.
So that's cool.
Quite
So what's the name of the song that you're going to be performing today?
It's Horseman from my new album, and it's a Mongolian-inspired song. I'm Ukrainian myself, so this is kind of going back towards my roots.
Northern China, right? Mongolia? You said Mongolian, right?
It's a Mongolian-inspired song.
Okay. No, but it's Northern China. I just want to get my geography correct, or I'll have to call Siri. Okay. And the song is called?
Horseman.
Horseman. Give it up for my good friend Vera, who's going to knock your socks off with an original called The Horseman. Go ahead. Give it up for Vera. Beautiful.
The Being Frank Show would like to thank D'Angelo Brands, Cheetah Power Surge, Pure Genius, and Mama